Hello, graduates, and all of the family members, loved ones, and friends who are sharing this moment with you. It is my absolute honor to be here and to congratulate you on behalf of the American Medical Association. Firstly, by means of honoring history and centering people who have been historically excluded, marginalized, and colonized, I want to acknowledge that we are all living off ancestral lands of indigenous peoples. Specifically, the land that you are all gathered on today is the original homeland of the Massachusetts people. I want to also acknowledge the extraction of brilliance, energy, and life for labor forced upon people of African descent for more than 400 years. We celebrate the resilience and strength that all Indigenous people and descendants of Africa have shown and continue to show in our cities, country, and world. So today, you become graduates of a powerful and long-standing institution, an institution with a history that stretches back well before the formal creation of this nation, known for its great accomplishments and influential national and global leaders and advocates, especially for health and justice. This is a legacy absolutely to be proud of. With this legacy you now carry comes great responsibility, opportunity, and privilege for the institution and for you as leaders in the health ecosystem. The responsibility to listen for and be accountable to unearthing and knowing the complete truths of the lives of the people and communities you will work with and the institutions you will work for. This legacy brings the opportunity to lead courageously, to speak your truth, and to always be and do better with genuine and loving humility. And it also provides you the privilege, earned and unearned, to use this new power that you will have to shape a more just society. You all have persevered through this tough time, some of the toughest moments in recent history on our planet. Moments that have tested all of humanity's bodies, hearts, and spirits literally. You have experienced the worst pandemic of a lifetime, a divisive presidential election, although it seems so long ago, punctuated by its violent aftermath, sustained protests in response to persistent police brutality, continued and escalating hate crimes towards historically harmed communities, Asian, Black, Latinx, Jewish, and transgender. You've seen deliberate and ongoing family separation at the US border, causing irreparable harm to children and families, persistent gun violence, and lately the threat of stripping women of their God given right to choice and power over their bodies. These all have endless health consequences and all represent loss of human rights, freedoms, and overall optimal health for all people to equally live out a personal and collective vision of joy, peace, and love. And these moments serve to elucidate the consequences of individual and systemic injustice in our country and reconfirm America's stronghold of false notions of hierarchy of human value based on skin color, class, gender identity, sexual orientation, religion, physical ability, and country of origin, as well as other identities. I recently was afforded the opportunity to deliver a keynote on the legacies of the Holocaust and their implications for health equity today. To support connecting some of the dots, I drew from Isabel Wilkerson's groundbreaking book, Caste: The Origins of Our Discontents. It revealed to many of us the reality that much of what Nazi Germany developed and implemented towards its genocide of Jews emulated the tactics and strategies of terror used to preserve harmful narratives of false hierarchies, supremacy, and even replacement, especially related to race, class, and gender in the United States culture, systems, and structures. Basically, the Nazis got their blueprint from a segment of our own US political as well as science and health leaders who were predominantly men, white, and of great wealth and influence. Imagine, just imagine, if the world could instead learn from us to fully, more honestly, transparently, and optimally operationalize and live out our written ideals of equal rights and justice. And some of you and our colleagues may still be questioning, why are human rights and justice my work and my responsibility at all? Isabel Wilkerson shared in Cast, many people may rightly say I had nothing to do with how this all started. I have nothing to do with the sins of my past. My ancestors never attacked indigenous people, never owned slaves, and yes, not one of us was here when this house was built. Our immediate ancestors may have had nothing to do with it, but here we are, the current occupants of a property with stress cracks and bowed walls and fissures built into the foundation. We are the heirs to whatever is right or wrong with it. We did not erect uneven pillars or joists, but they are ours to deal with now. And kudos to Harvard for dealing with its own history and recently launching restorative justice efforts for your past contributions that upheld the institution of slavery. That is to be commended greatly. And it serves as a call to action for others to follow, and they will. You too, as you move forward in your career, will need to continue to interrogate and question. How do you ensure your efforts, programs, policies, tools, and systems do not discriminate, exclude, harm, deny, or exacerbate inequities? How do you disrupt the beliefs and actions that undermine justice? What kinds of alliances, infrastructure, and systems changes are necessary? All of these provide meaningful direction to learn different truths, expose what has often been made invisible, and add a sense of humanity to the existing scientific evidence base that our profession of health so values. When I think about these questions and actions, they're revolutionary. By that, I don't mean new or innovative, but rather, quote, an evolution of our consciousness and responsibility, end quote, as stated by civil rights activist Grace Lee Boggs, who passed at the age of 100 in 2015. In her describing of revolution, she says, people must not only struggle against existing institutions, they must make a philosophical and spiritual leap and become more human beings. In order to change, transform the world, they must change and transform themselves. As health professionals, the idea of being revolutionary for the sake of society may sound risky, even contrary to what you've been taught. However, how we understand what shapes health, how we talk about it, what we do, is begging for a revolution for the evolution of our individual and collective selves and society. As you step into this next phase of your personal, educational, and professional journey, and a space of power, reward, and responsibility, I ask you to consider these possibilities. First, you must remember we are all born equal, and health is our human right. I truly believe you will all need to embrace joining the health workforce in ways that facilitate system building rooted in values of equity and justice. Getting to equity and justice are not zero-sum realities that continue to create a set of winners and losers in health. You will have the opportunity to reimagine, dismantle, decolonize, redesign, and reconstruct the health and public health systems through a vision that reclaims a much broader understanding of health. Therefore, we must hold our own selves accountable to each other and accountable to treating people equitably, with dignity, and with a vision that centers health, racial, and social justice, humanizes yourself, and affirms human rights and embraces joy. The second possibility to consider. Brian Stevenson, lawyer and head of the Equal Justice Initiative, says, we must get proximate to people who are suffering, which means we must prioritize and integrate the voices and ideas of people and communities experiencing great injustice and who have been historically exploited, excluded, deprived of needed resources that are needed to thrive, whether they are communities of color, women, people with disabilities, people with low wealth, people who identify as LGBTQ+, and those in rural and urban communities alike. This is not only for those who serve and who we serve, but also for those colleagues of ours, practitioners and scholars we work with that have been actively and historically discounted and marginalized. Another possibility I put forth to you to consider: to seek the truth and to not be silent when you know the truth. The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them, as stated by Ida B. Wells. And to be silent is deadly, continues James Baldwin. Develop a critical consciousness that seeks truth in all of its complexity. Challenge dominant and malignant narratives that tend to obscure responsibility. A critical component of our work in health and as conscious human beings in this world today is to deepen our understanding of the histories and the stories and narratives that surround us, that guide our thoughts and influence our actions and are in our institutions of practice, in the so called traditions of medicine, and in our communities of learning and service. A fourth possibility to consider is remember that health is political, and there is a need for public health and healthcare to have an explicit political voice. Doing so means that we are going to have to expand our public voice and partner with folks in media, cultural strategists, federal and state and local governments, and others across the health ecosystem. Many of you are already leading and using your voices to advocate for change, social justice, a better country, a better world, better global public health and health systems. And I encourage you to continue doing so, and to encourage your fellow students, mentors, and teachers, graduates to do the same. The world in many ways is looking to public health and healthcare and their communities to lead. Your advocacy, whether within systems' walls or outside of them, on behalf of others and yourselves, is credible and crucial. And lastly, the sixth possibility to hold and consider: give yourself permission to feel and experience joy, to cry, to laugh, and to love. Try not to over intellectualize the realities and expressions of harm, joy, and love, as we tend to do in many of the science based professions. Empathize and feel. This is not a weakness. It is being human and allowing yourself to show up as a full human being capable of doing amazing things. Ultimately, you are going to have to choose how you are going to show up in your career with the grace and understanding that your choice will evolve over time. You are going to have to find out what gives you purpose beyond a piece of paper and the additional letters after your name, and answer questions such as what is going to give you hope to persevere and to push through. I'm evolving as a physician and as a leader, and how I'm choosing to show up is changing. My advocacy skills have sharpened and quickened on behalf of patients, physicians, my teams, my mentors, and myself, my family, and friends. My voice is more powerful, clear, and strategic in finding ways to move souls and hearts to deeply care and to truly understand and seek to understand. Former Surgeon General Dr. David Satcher has recently expressed, "We need leaders who care enough, who know enough, who will do enough, and who will persist in the effort." And so our collective and bold revolutionary path forward must seek to pivot from ambivalence to urgent action, from euphemisms to explicit conversations about power, racism, gender, and class oppression, forms of discrimination and exclusion. We must move from passive to specific action, supported by resource redistribution and infrastructure change. From rationalization and good intentions to comprehensive analysis of structures, systems, policies, and practices leading to real change and impact. And we must move from the lack of accountability to an active embrace of equity and justice as a core mission and strategy to all we do. I'm excited for all of you today, and I truly look forward to the leadership of your class. To quote Grace Lee Boggs again from her written work, The Seeds of Change, "These are the times to grow our souls. Each of us is called upon to embrace the conviction that despite the powers and principalities bent on commodifying all of our human relationships, we have the power within us to create the world anew." So huge congratulations to all of you. I wish you the best in life. Enjoy this moment together. Stay connected with one another, and thank you and take care.